Welcome back to The Explainer. So, in part one, we hit you with a pretty wild reality check. Politicians, presidents, and famous leaders aren't really running the machine. But if they aren't, then who is? To answer that question, we're going to have to look somewhere that, honestly, almost nobody ever looks. We need to peel back the layers of our global infrastructure to find the real mechanics of power. Section 1. The Hidden Operating System. Think about it like this. The world isn't really a collection of countries anymore. It's actually a collection of massive, interlocking systems that are just pretending to be countries. Submarine data cables crisscrossing the ocean floor, deep financial plumbing, giant energy pipelines, global shipping routes, and highly complex semiconductor supply chains. We're talking about the raw physical and digital architecture that literally dictates human survival. And guess what? These systems do not care about your local elections, and they definitely don't care about borders. Just to put this into perspective, the World Bank is projecting global growth will slow down to just 2.5% in 2026. Why? Is it because of some newly elected leader? Nope. It's simply because energy supply networks in the Middle East took a physical hit. A disruption in the system instantly overrides any political ambition. Section 2. The Shipping Container Test. Let's run a quick, honestly kind of terrifying simulation using some recent maritime trade data. We want to see who actually holds the leverage here. Imagine a strategic choke point, like the Strait of Hormuz, just closes. Watch the dominoes fall. Ships stop dead in the water. Factories go dark. Inflation absolutely surges. And governments instantly lose control of their economies. I mean, does a prime minister really hold power if a delayed cargo ship can empty their country's grocery store shelves in a matter of days? It's wild, right? And this perfectly illustrates something MSCI research recently exposed, which they called the fertilizer fault line. They tracked how a disruption in just one single shipping route sent shockwaves through global fertilizer markets. Quietly, from the shadows, that one route was basically dictating global food security. Here's the crucial takeaway. Politicians give orders on a map, but the physical, real-world movement of shipping containers and raw commodities, that is what quietly governs whether those nations actually survive. Supply chain reality will always outvote a political border. Section 3. The Invisible Money Network. Right beneath that physical layer of cargo ships and pipelines, there lies an even deeper, infinitely faster operating system. Think about your morning routine. You tap your phone to pay for a coffee. Seems simple. But when you send that money, where does it actually go? What invisible system is out there recording that transaction? And honestly, who maintains the trust that makes that whole tap-and-go thing even work? Here is a crazy thought. Your sleek, colorful consumer banking app? It's kind of just an illusion. It is a shiny little interface sitting on top of a massive, hidden layer of central bank reserves and unified cross-border ledgers. When you check your balance, you're interacting with the very surface of a deep, dark financial ocean. The Bank for International Settlements actually calls this financial plumbing. It's this incredibly complex, tokenized, next-generation network that silently moves the world's commercial and government money around the globe. And here is the kicker. Without this plumbing functioning flawlessly every single second of every single day, the global economy simply collapses. Section 4. The Power of Incentives. This brings us to one of the most absolutely crucial concepts in this entire explainer. The world isn't run by presidential executive orders. It's run by mathematical incentives. Take a look at this staggering number. The IMF projects global public debt is going to hit an astonishing 100% of GDP by 2029. Now, is that because one specific leader just woke up and wanted it that way? No, of course not. It's a trajectory driven by relentless, unstoppable market incentives that force governments' hands, completely regardless of who happens to be sitting in office. As the IMF data highlights, nations weaponize tariffs and engage in this so-called geoeconomic coercion precisely because global market incentives literally force them to do it. They are just reacting to trade fragmentation and huge capital flow reversals. The politicians aren't driving the car here, guys. They're the passengers, just reacting to the twists and turns of the road. And it's not just governments. Even the growth of entirely new companies is governed by these systemic incentives. We're seeing massive funds like BlackRock increasingly using AI to systematically source and evaluate private market equity. The machine is scaling itself based purely on data, completely bypassing traditional human decision-making. Section 5. Ghosts in the Machine. So if systems and incentives are ruling everything, who exactly are the ghosts operating inside this machine? Without diving into some crazy internet conspiracy theory, we can just look at the hard data. The real levers of macro control are held by basically immortal institutions. We're talking central banks, the Bank for International Settlements, and these massive non-bank financial intermediaries. They are the ones writing the rules of the plumbing. Just listen to how casually True Power speaks in this 2025 BIS report. They talk about making sound public finances and price stability critical for sustainable growth. They are quietly engineering macroeconomic stability, while the politicians are just out there reacting to the weather that these institutions create. It's a pretty profound shift in perspective once you actually see it. Think about the crazy dynamic at play here. Prime ministers get voted out. Famous billionaires go bankrupt. But the algorithmic flow of cross-border capital and the massive institutions that manage it, they remain completely untouched. They just keep humming along.
Which brings us to the ultimate question.
And here is the ultimate twist. All of these interconnected systems we just talked about, from the physical cargo ships docking at massive ports to the digital central bank reserves shifting billions of dollars in a millisecond, they all rely entirely on a single invisible thread to function. That common denominator isn't a physical commodity like oil, and it definitely isn't some complex algorithm in a database. It is the incredibly fragile concept of trust. Trust that the ship will actually deliver the cargo. Trust that the digital ledger is completely accurate. But if the entire global machine literally runs on trust, well, it forces us to ask a totally paradigm-shifting question. What if the most powerful force in the world isn't actually money at all? What if money itself depends on something even bigger, something deeper that actually governs that global trust? Well, that is exactly what we're going to uncover in part 3.